Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the We're Two Opinionated podcast.
Oh my God, it's our first podcast. I'm so happy.
So basically, this is a podcast where we discuss random topics, current news, and kind of give our opinions on them. Sometimes our controversial opinions.
Absolutely, most of the time.
Most of the time, our controversial opinions.
That's right. Welcome, guys. We're so excited that Vela and I decided to do this, and I think you'll always find us, if you know us personally, you'll always find us discussing some very interesting topics surrounding our lives or what's happening recently around us or globally.
And just going on tangents, going on long-winded tangents. So we thought, why not present our tangents to the world in the form of We're Two Opinionated.
Absolutely, and I promise we're gonna keep it short, simple, but fun.
Yes, I think the main objective of this is to keep it fun because we have a lot of fun together.
Before we go ahead, Vela, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes, so I'm Vela Pandya. I'm a writer published on medium.com.
Hi, I'm Vitasta as many of you know and most of you will know. I am doing a lot of things. I think I'm a micro-influencer in Ahmedabad city. I said I think because I don't know how.
You're not a micro-influencer, I'd say. I think you are a full-blown influencer.
I don't know about that, but along with that, I am a director of a very interesting company. It's called Ayurnet Healthcare Private Limited, and we make Ayurvedic products. So yeah, that's about it. And I think you'll get to know more about who we are, what we do,
and our hot takes, if you will.
That's right. Absolutely. So Vela, our listeners and our viewers are going to wonder, where do you get that accent from? I'm acting like Kareena Kapoor from the Coffee with Karan episode where she asks Karan, where does Priyanka get her accent from? So where does Vela get her accent from?
Well, as most people who are probably viewing already kind of know Vitasta because of the fact that she is an influencer.
Oh my God.
But so I'm her cousin. I'm from Canada. I was born here in Ahmedabad, but I moved there when I was a wee little child. And so I actually came back to stay here. I've been staying here for a year and a half now, I think.
Oh my God, yes.
It's been a year and a half, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I came for my older cousin, her brother's wedding last February. And I decided to stay back because it was really quiet and calm and just...
Oh, excuse me. Did you just say calm? Were you trying to describe India when you said calm?
Yes. I mean, like I previously mentioned, I'm a writer. And I feel like just the atmosphere here was just... It was conducive to creative juices.
Makes sense. I mean, I really love the fact that you moved back here, and I'm so glad that we get to bond and we're finally doing something that, we're so passionate and opinionated about. And I always tell this to people that India is the future and the future is now. So I'm so happy you're here.
I did want to mention one thing, though, that's been bothering me. Well, not really bothering me, but the fact that you're cribbing on my accent when you too have an accent.
So stop trying to act like Priyanka Chopra, because even she had a very sassy reply to Karina's question. So just like what Priyanka said, sorry, I have so many Bollywood references. That just shows how passionate I am. Priyanka on that show said, oh, I get the accent from the same place her boyfriend gets it from. So I got the accent from the US. I lived there for 8 years. I studied political science. I worked there for a couple of years. It was just a lot of fun, and I got back during COVID. And ever since, I'm just loving my time back home, loving my time with my parents, my siblings, and it's just so much fun. And I'm so glad you decided to stay. The family just keeps on growing bigger and bigger.
No, so, I'm also really glad. I feel like we got some lost time back.
Absolutely, I agree. All right, listeners and viewers, in today's episode of We're Two Opinionated, we're going to talk about a little bit of Little bit of a heavy topic, no pun intended.
Puns always intended.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about body dysmorphia and I think our takes, views, and opinions on the difference between dissatisfaction and dysmorphia. I think a lot of people,
Yeah.
there's a thin line between the two, and I think we're going to talk about that today and share our opinions, experiences, and our hot take on it. So,
Yeah.
Vela, what comes to your mind when we talk about body dysmorphia? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
I think you brought up a very interesting thing where you mentioned body dissatisfaction versus body dysmorphia.
Absolutely.
Because the first thing that you think of when you hear the term body dysmorphia is, oh, I'm not satisfied with how I look.
Absolutely.
Right? When in reality, it's a much deeper than that. It's kind of how you see yourself despite how you actually look. Right?
Yeah.
So it's a kind of juxtaposition between how, let's say, I see myself somewhere, or like in a mirror, in a picture, in a reflection, whatever,
Right.
versus how I actually look objectively, right?
No, I took a pause there because I was really thinking about it. Is that this is not something you're dealing in this new age of social media, which we're so quick to blame.
Right.
That social media has this effect on people now, and social media does this. But now I'm thinking, when you were talking about that, I'm thinking how this has always been a problem. Like growing up, I'm talking about myself, and mind you guys, that body dysmorphia is not only just limited to women, men, or any gender particularly, and also not associated to just fat people. Body dysmorphia is usually mostly found within people who are just not that confident. It's actually a disorder.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's very good that you mentioned it's not limited to people who are of a certain size or a certain gender
Absolutely.
or a certain age.
Right.
Although I do believe that some aspects of body dysmorphia are like learned. So I
Right.
do think that people grow up with this.
Right,
But
right.
it is important to mention that it is not limited to certain things. Like you can develop body dysmorphia over time.
Absolutely.
Right?
It is according to researchers that I was reading online before we decided to, ever record this podcast, is that it's not just limited to, what you see. It's also limited. It really depends on your surrounding. Who are you surrounded with, in a sense that are people motivating you to be a better person? It's like a reflection in the mirror. And I feel like body dysmorphia, a lot of times people either avoid looking at themselves in the mirror completely, or look at the mirror all the time to pick on things, and it's such a opposite
Right.
thing for people. Like for me, it's for like I relate to the first part of the statement that I just passed, that people don't look in the mirror. I was like that. I remember, like I was at that point in time in life that I was just like, I would avoid mirrors, Bella. Like I would not look at myself, because I was just like, okay, this is the part of my body that I do not like looking at, and for that I would completely like just avoid walking past a mirror, looking into the camera. Now you see, I'm always in front of the mirror because I worked on it, and that we'll get to that later. But I'm just saying,
Right.
well, I'm just quickly jumping into my experience about it, is that I would avoid mirror all the time, and then I never realized that it's actually freaking disorder that you don't realize, because that is also interlinked with eating disorder, and these things are
Right.
so
Absolutely.
internalized
Yeah.
with the standardized image of people around you, of how women should look. I'm talking about women because I'm a woman, I identify as a woman, so I can only speak for them, right? So
It's also our opinions in terms of like we're gonna talk about like random facts. So we're bringing up facts. We're bringing up a full definition of things. Like we'll get to the actual definition of body dysmorphia as well. But we're talking about definitions. We're talking about these general terms. But you also have to take into the fact that we are two women who are discussing this. So obviously we're going to bring up things that have happened from our lives, our opinions, and our
Absolutely.
kind of view on how body dysmorphia affected us.
And I think the reason, Bella, we can do that, you and I can be honest about it, is that people who are listening to us or watching, viewing us, is that they can relate it too. You know, sometimes talking about body dysmorphia, talking about body image issues is a little bit of taboo in this new age. You know, it's just like, okay, you are talking about these things that people just want to shrug under the carpet, you know, or brush it, whatever that phrase is.
Brush it under the rug.
Brush it under the rug. So
there's no rugs in my apartment, so there's no way we can brush anything under the rug.
That's right.
So like I mentioned earlier, we're going to kind of give a definition of what body dysmorphia actually is, because I feel like it's important whenever we talk about something. I think it's important to actually look at sources, look at the actual definitions of things, so then we can actually look at them more critically in a way, or give our viewers a factual experience.
That's right.
And
so, Bella, what is the definition of body dysmorphia before you go on another tangent?
You know, tangents are amazing. But based on...
We need t-shirts.
How tangents are amazing?
Yeah.
Or BRB, and then the back says, going on a tangent. Like, the front says BRB, and then the person turns around and it says, going on a tangent, like, oh, they're going on a walk.
We need that. We're Two Opinionated claims that t-shirt, all right?
Okay, please, next week on our Patreon.
That's right, go for it.
All the sources of everything that we've kind of mentioned will be in the description, citing our sources. According to NHS UK, body dysmorphia, or BDD for short, if you like, you know.
Body dysmorphia disorder.
Body dysmorphic disorder, or body dysmorphia, is a mental health condition where a person spends a lot of time worrying about their flaws in their appearance. Those flaws are often unnoticeable to others. People of any age can have BDD, but it's most common in teenagers and young adults. It affects both men and women. Having BDD does not mean you're vain or self-obsessed. It can be very upsetting and have a big impact on your life. So basically that was the definition of what BDD, or body dysmorphia, or body dysmorphic disorder, if you want to get all technical about it. So Vitasta, you mentioned something about not being able to look in the mirror or at your reflections. Do you want to talk a little bit more about like growing up in India, or even in the US when you were living in Virginia? Like, do you want to talk a little bit more about how your life has been in regards to body dysmorphia?
So Bella, like I mentioned before, the thin line between body dysmorphia and body dissatisfaction, on the spectrum of this, I think I lie moderately in between the two. My body dysmorphia, body dissatisfaction comes from childhood, when I'm talking about my hair. And I think I'm very obsessed with my hair now is because I have a lot of backlog memories. I don't want to name it trauma, but that's what it feels like to me. So whenever my hair is like, you know, however it's looking, I just feel so dissatisfied with it. Like, oh my God, my hair is not looking great. Oh my God, my hair is like this. Oh my God. And that comes from the fact that when I was a kid, my mom used to take my sister and I to chop off our hair, like, you know, just have like short hair, you know how kids are, because she had twins, an older sibling, 3 of us. I understand, I respect her, but I think the fact that I still remember a core memory going into middle school or high school, I don't remember which grade it was, 7th or 8th grade. That was the last time I think I let my mom decide what kind of hair I should have. It was, I don't even know, was it 6th or 7th grade? But no, it was 6th grade. Sorry guys, I mean, we went into, I remember we had a class photo, a class picture.
Yeah,
a class picture that day. And I remember as soon as I walked into the hall wherever we were taking the pictures, all the kids started laughing at me. And that's the only negative memory I have from school. Otherwise, I was through and through a very confident child. I was always a leader in school. And that memory is still with me, and it makes me so sad even to think about it right now. To the fact that, Vela, if I try to have a conversation about this with my mom or my sister, because my sister was unaffected by it, and I was a big kid and my hair was short, so I had very strong feelings about how the hair looks on me, or how are the kids reacting to it. Not that I cared, but sometimes things stay with you, not that I want them to stay with me, but so even when I try to have a conversation with my mom or my sister about it, I cry. Even today, like this happened 6 months ago, I tried to have a conversation with them and they were not understanding where I was coming from.
Yeah.
To the point, like even today, Vela, like even right now, I was like, okay, is my hair okay? Is my hair okay? It's also interconnected with the fact that it is something that helps me feel safe. Like I feel like, okay, it's covering my face, it's covering my double chin, I want it to be there, I want it to be like perfect. So it's kind of my cape to like, I'm an extrovert person, to like hide while I'm with everyone. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. No, like I absolutely understand, because you said that you were like, you mentioned that you were a little bigger growing up.
Yeah.
And that right now you mentioned that, oh, it's like hiding my double chin. So like I feel like those two facts are interconnected, where you might have felt insecure about how your face was looking, and that translated into, oh, my hair is short and I can't cover my face.
I didn't have body issues, image issues back in the day. It was just hair. I think growing up, looking at the standardized image, if you talk to me, if you know me, you know that I'm not someone who comes off as an underconfident person. I'm extremely confident when it comes to talking to people, when it's, being in front of camera. But again, I'm going to say that this is me covering my pillow right now, because I'm extremely conscious about how my stomach looks. I'm extremely conscious about how my double chin looks right now, So it has taken a lot of learning and unlearning to even reach the stage where I can sit in front of the camera. But it takes a lot of effort, it's just,
Absolutely.
God, yeah. I mean, I went on a tangent there, but these have been my experiences, and I know a lot of people go through the same thing. Some people are obsessed with how their teeth look. Some people are obsessed with not liking their arms. Some people are obsessed with, oh my God, my eyebrows are so bad. Like, these are things that are really like rooted in us because of what happens around us. Like what is expected of a woman to look like.
And I think that's very important that you mentioned that it's how it's important for a woman to look like, because I think growing up, like I know that you mentioned that you didn't have body image issues growing up, but for me it was the absolute opposite.
Okay.
Right? So like now I mean it's not like I'm immune to body image issues.
None of us are.
Obviously. So for me, it was the complete opposite. Like growing up, I had way more body image issues than right now.
Okay.
Right? So like growing up, I think like it was similar in the way that like my mom also kind of played a part in my body image issues. So like growing up, my mom, like not me growing up, like my mom when she was growing up, she was very skinny. Like even at this age, she has skinny arms and skinny legs. She just has a big tummy because, she had 2 kids. But so as I was growing up, when she was older, like she started feeling a little insecure about her tummy and her body. And I feel like that translated or transferred onto how she kind of felt about my body, because I was thicker. Like I was obviously not like as thin as her, and I don't think I would ever be as thin as her.
But Vela, sorry to interrupt, but I feel like my early memories of you, that you were an extremely petite person. Like I never thought of you as a big person. You know what I'm saying? Like
not big in the sense where, but like let me flesh this out a little bit more. So growing up, the people that I was surrounded by were much skinnier than me in the sense of like their frames were smaller. Right? So I have a large frame. Like I have big shoulders, like large shoulders, and like my arms are quite thick, right? I mean, I'm not tall, but I have the frame of a tall person. Like my shoe size is also quite big. So I'm not tall, but I have the frame of a tall person. Again, that's too funny.
You stopped playing basketball, or you never played basketball. Swimming करने नहीं गई होगी, cycling करने, छोटी बच्ची थी तब.
छोटी बच्ची हो क्या? Back to the topic at hand. So basically, like everybody had like a smaller frame, right? And my mom also had that small frame. Right? So when she saw me, she saw like, oh, she's a little chubbier. And like I also have these cheeks that are like kind of, they're bone, it's not like fat, but it appears as if it's fat. I mean, it's fat here, but it's not fat up here, right? So it kind of, basically, my mom saw me as a little bit fatter, and then she also was feeling insecure about her tummy. So it was kind of like these things where she felt that I should kind of eat right growing up, and that, you know, paired with the fact that my friends were friends at the time were a little skinnier, or, you know, their frames were smaller, or whatever, what have you. Like, based on that and the fact that like at home it was like an environment of like, oh, watch what you're eating, watch what, you know, like how you look in that sense. So that kind of, you know, added to the fact that, you know, I felt much larger than I actually was, because looking back, like I look at my pictures and I'm like, oh gosh, if only I was that weight again. Like, how nice would that be?
Right. And I feel like there was no encouragement at that point of time where you could have just maintained that weight, but you were just made to feel bad of being that weight.
No, I think like even all throughout high school, I took gym class. So like I knew I was able to weight train, I played a sport, but there was always this really weird issue with food. And I think that's where the biggest problem came on with like how I gained weight after.
Right.
Because I feel like the only reason, like let me kind of give a little bit of a brief story as kind of the definition, or like as an addition to what body dysmorphia is, because there's a very good example of how I was like body dysmorphic as growing up. So all throughout high school I was 130 pounds. Right? But I never felt like I was 130 pounds. Right? I always felt like I was much larger. Like I was 170 or 180 pounds. I always felt that way. So after high school, when I started having a better relationship with food and stopped going on these yo-yo diets, these fad diets, and obviously because I stopped taking a gym class and my sports stopped because I was not in a high school team.
It's called the freshman 15, right? Like
more like freshman 30.
But yeah,
or 40.
I mean, that really doesn't matter, but I understand what you're saying.
But the kind of crux of the issue is the fact that when I became 170 or 180, I didn't realize until it was kind of too late to drop those pounds, because I always felt that fat. I never felt 130, right? So that's where like I realized, oh damn, like, you know, I really did not see myself as how I actually was. Right, growing up. So I think that kind of really highlights exactly how body dysmorphia can affect you, because
and can shape you and your confidence, I believe. I think that's very important, Vela, that we let our viewers and listeners know that if you notice someone having these issues, or if you think you are someone who has this issue, you should really address it, because it can shape your life negatively or positively. Negatively mostly, because it's absolutely wrong to feel this way, because sometimes you are just made to feel this way. I know so many people who are so proud to body shame people, and you know, a lot of, and it's just, and it's very weird. I'm like, you don't know where the person is coming from. Let that person be skinny, let that person be fat. Like, what the is your problem.
No, but the thing is, I wasn't fat growing up.
Right.
But because of how I felt growing up, I
Right.
became somebody who was fat.
Right.
Right.
And Vela, I don't know if people know this. I work out thrice a day. All right. I play badminton. I do yoga. I go for a walk every morning. I go to the gym 4 times, 5 times a week. Depends on how my mood is. But at least 3 workouts a day. Show me one skinny person who's working as hard as I am right now. And I love doing these things. Obviously, I'm doing it to lose weight, but I'm telling you, I've always been active.
Yeah.
Playing sports, I played varsity in high school, I played volleyball, basketball. I've always played sports. So like being big is equal to, according to some people, being lazy, being unhealthy, being, just a very boring person or a very chirpy person. Oh, you're very bubbly. Like this whole, I feel like this all falls under the umbrella of body dysmorphia, body image issues, eating disorders, and people not being able to find their anchor when it comes to confidence, and just looking at themselves in the mirror and be like, okay, you know what, you're enough. It is because either, like you said, it's passed down in the family, or you're surrounded with friends who like make you feel a certain way, or you're watching something on the TV, or you see the models on the magazines. So I feel like this topic feels like it's done and dusted, but I feel like it's not.
It's not, because we still have this kind of notion where, oh, because she's skinny or because they're skinny, they don't eat.
Yeah.
And because they're fat, they eat. Like, Vitasta is genuinely the most healthiest person I know. Like, sometimes I'm just like, okay, you're eating the most boring meal ever. but the thing is, there's this notion of, oh, because they're fat, they're just constantly eating. But no, I didn't become fat because I was constantly eating.
Yeah, and people, you're not going to tell everybody what hormonal issues you're going through,
Right.
what is stressing you out in life, where in life exactly you are. That's just impossible, guys. See, if you're listening and you're watching this, if somebody is trying to make you feel something about your body that you're not already feeling about, like let's say, if I tell you that, oh, your arms look fat, and you've never felt that, that's a very alien feeling to you, cut that person off from your life, because you don't want, we're already living under so much stress when it comes to work, relationships. You don't want a friend telling you, oh my God, your arms are looking so fat. Like you don't want that, because this is where it all stems from. And it's quite unfortunate, Vela, that see, when your kids bully each other, like my hair thing was kids bullying me, and that happened once and it's still with me. And it's very difficult to get rid of that feeling, because back in the head, no matter how confident you are, that one statement, that one statement will stay with you. This is what I tell people. If you can't say something nice, keep quiet. Keep quiet.
But I also think it's important that we address that sometimes, even despite all the external things, like they can be very subtle. Right? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody being like, oh, you're too big, you're too this. It can be like a very passing like comments throughout the years that can build. And eventually, like, you start feeling like this about yourself. Right? And let's say you already feel like this about yourself. You're an adult now, you still feel like, I don't like this about myself, or I don't like this about myself. So in order to work on that, you have to kind of understand that all bodies are different.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think, like, yeah, we already know, like, oh, bodies are different, this, that, but it's very important to understand that, like, bodies are not, like, one size fits all. Like, that's not how that works.
Right.
Because there are hormonal things, especially, like, for women, we are not on a 24-hour cycle. We are on a 28-day cycle. For some people, it's larger, like, a larger period of time, like 30, or some people it's shorter, like a 24-day cycle, right? Like, we're on a lunar cycle, if you will, if you want to call us witches. Like, we're already bitches, you can call us witches too. It's totally, it's totally fine.
Since we can talk about women because we are women, and it's our experiences, but men face the same thing, maybe even worse. I feel like the society is much meaner to men. It's just that they don't take up the space as much as we do or can now. Because of women, we are able to take up this
Yeah.
space. I feel like men are never allowed to take up this space when it's talking about body image issues.
Right.
Don't call me an anti-feminist for saying all these things, but I'm a feminist. But feminism means equality, and I
Right.
really want to talk about that men are, equal amount of,
Are faced with this equally.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's
Yeah.
quite sad that they can't talk about it with their friends or can't talk about it with their family or write a post about it. Only some do. And when men come out and say things like this, it becomes hard for other men to accept that,
Right,
And
like
I think that's very sad. And I hope, sorry to cut you off,
No,
but
no.
all the men out there who identify as men and are men,
This is a space for you too.
Exactly. And I
Right?
hope that, you listen to this podcast and you're watching this podcast and we support you, and we feel free to reach out to us in the DMs and we can share your story as well. And I feel like men really don't get the space to talk about these
Yeah,
things.
and I think it's very important because they deal with their own set of we deal with a lot of weight related issues.
Yeah.
Whereas men kind of deal with height related issues that. There's both of those things are kind of genetically predetermined to some extent.
Right.
Right? Same joke.
Okay, the takeaway from this podcast is that be you, be beautiful, and sorry, that was just so lame. The takeaway is that irrespective where you come from, irrespective who you identify as, it doesn't really matter until you've actually addressed the issues that are going on inside your mind. Your
Right.
friends can help you only if they're keeping you on the right track. We seek out to a therapist. Therapists can be really great for these kind of issues.
Everyone should go to therapy, as I always say.
Yeah, I mean, to each his own. If you can afford it, go for it, right?
Or go to a priest, a confessional. That can be your therapist.
All right, I'm trying to be serious here, but no, it doesn't work with this one here. So,
I did have something to say on a serious note.
Go for it.
If that's all right.
yeah, please. Come on, oh my God.
So I saw a
The
reel.
sun is going down.
We're losing our light.
Yeah.
So I saw a reel last week that I showed you actually, where so it's in Hindi. So I'll just pardon my terrible Hindi. So basically, it was written down the quote. It said, "Ganda शीशा था और हम चेहरा साफ करते रह गए," which basically translates to the mirror was dirty, but we kept trying to clean our face. So I think that is at the crux or the basic takeaway of what we're trying to say. The issue is not your body; it is how you're it's the perspective or how you perceive your body.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, speaking of reels, I feel like I myself had a fair share of recently, we're not even in high school. I don't know why I'm mentioning this at the end of the episode, but that maybe this is the hook of the episode is that recently I got viral just last week on Instagram. That reel has over 1 million views, and it's just me talking to a manager of a restaurant where we had some issues. I don't want to get into that whole thing right now or ever again because I'm so done with it. But why am I mentioning it here is because I received a lot of hate comments. I was not even fighting a battle which was mine. It was for my friend and my cousin. Vela was a part of it.
Yes.
And my friend recorded me, talking, and somebody leaked it to the media, and it was out there in all the news channels and everywhere. So people literally just went on a bender and just literally sat there, woke up and chose violence. Even today they tag me and they write so much shit, so much body shaming, completely ignoring the fact of what I'm doing in the reel, what the reel is there for, what is the main purpose of this reel being out there reaching you, nothing at all. So my point is, people are gonna be hateful, spiteful, irrespective of how you look, who you are, and where you come from. So it really is like how you draw your boundaries with yourself. Like if you're trying to train your body to be a certain way, don't let other people get you off track. So
Right. And I feel like the perception of a body type, like demonizing one body type over another or preferring one body type over another, like all of those are societal perceptions. All of those are perceptions that other people have. And they don't necessarily define how you actually look.
Yeah.
And I think a friend of ours said this recently to us, how she was trying to learn how to love herself or like her body, which I think is really important because the only way to kind of come out of this body dysmorphic state or this issue of like not liking parts of your body is to learn how to try to love it and unlearn the things that people are telling you, unlearn the things that society is telling you.
Right. And I think we should not let other people dictate how you want to live your lives.
Right.
I mean, of course, some people are going to come to you in good faith and, you know, be really caring and tell you something. You must listen to the good things, but you must know how to bifurcate that. Like you must know what's good for you and what's not good for you.
And I think I also want to address one more thing. Like we were talking about how Vitasta is one of the most healthiest people that I know. And I think we want to kind of address, like very briefly, that health does not equal how you look.
Right.
Opposite of thin is not fat, it's thick.
Right.
Like fat is it's just like cells on your body, like fat cells.
Yeah.
It's a food group.
Right.
Fat is not, like it's like we're...
It's not a label.
It's not a label.
Stop labeling people that. And I feel like, anyway,
thick thighs save lives.
That's
As
right.
Vitasta has on a t-shirt.
I always say thick thighs save lives, and with that, I think we can wrap up our podcast, our first podcast.
First ever podcast. Let's
Vela,
go.
to be very honest, I'm so happy we chose this topic because it's so personal to us, and I feel like we could go on for hours talking about this.
I think we could go on for like another 2 hours, maybe have like wee little cries in between.
Absolutely, but we wanted to keep it quick and
crisp
for our viewers and our listeners. So we really hope that you could relate to some of it, most of it,
all of it,
or
none
not
of
all.
it. Thanks for listening to the first episode of We're Two Opinionated.
Oh my God! Thank you guys for joining in and tuning in, and
wherever you're listening. If you're watching, you'll see our beautiful faces and my humble abode.
And if you're listening,
here's some ASMR for you.
And hope you liked our accents and all the shindig.
The banter
that we did, and like us, subscribe.
You
have to add the meme then. You have to add the meme. Subscribe.
We'll put all the links to the sources and our socials in the description. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure to subscribe, favorite it, and give us a review.
Please, we would appreciate that.
We would love a review.
Subscribe on YouTube as well, please.
And that like button, and leave a comment and say, hey.
And do not leave a hate comment. Please, be kind. And if you can't be kind, shut the